Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Trackmania Grand League Grand Finals. The playoffs here happening online this year, but alas, they have been very exciting so far. We started with 8 players that have been turned down to 6 currently, as Spam and Kappa were eliminated. But now it only gets closer when we have 6 players left. And what are your expectations now, Geek, coming into the second round?
Well, coming into the second round, well, Affi, the last man to get himself into the final 6 with the victory on Halfpipe. Unfortunately for him, I think it's gonna get a bit tougher for the Swiss driver, as we saw Pac was showing absolute dominance right here on Paradise, winning the first 2 rounds so effortlessly. But then also the standing of Gwen. Remember, Gwen won the combine. Affi finished in P2. Gwen won the regular season. Affi finished in P5. So statistically, the odds are in favor of other players, and Affi might be getting the short end of the stick. But as we said, anything can happen in this format that we've seen right now, and it can be extremely close. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But Affi might have a bit of a difficult time here.
Yeah, and I think Affi is once again at the mercy of the map order, because Circles is his big moment, but if it is not one of the first maps here and the other players have already advanced before that one gets online, then Affi will be in a very tough spot. That's not to say he can't win other maps. We saw, for example, Spam win an unexpected map in the first round, but Circles really is where he makes the moves and where he shows his best.
Okay, so apparently we have got the map pick for now. We've got Halfpipe coming up first, pick by Gwen. Then we got Papou, Semiramis picked by Papou. Then Pac picking up Paradise. Then we've got Starglide and Circles, which will be your 2 final maps. Those are informations given by the Grand League staff themselves.
Yeah, wow. Well, Pac picking Paradise, first of all, no big surprise there, I think. That is his bread and butter, it seems. Won 2 rounds in a row there. But we are going to start on Halfpipe here, picked by Gwen. And Gwen has a bit of a story with this map. We saw him in the first step, starting out his very first Grand League match. He actually lost all of his points on this map, I remember it very vividly, in a battle for 9th place. But then he later went on to be one of the top players on this map, and now he's picked it for good reason. I think we didn't get to see his performance here in the first round, but we're gonna get to see it now, and this man has some fire pace.
Yeah, and I was saying that Affi was gonna have a rough time. Well, it's gonna get a lot rougher than he would have liked to, as we said, Circle, as I highlighted in the map order, Circles comes last in this one, and statistically we might not even be able to we're not even gonna be able to reach the point where we're gonna be playing map 5. So unfortunately, Affi is gonna have to come through and try to deliver the goods once again. Well, actually, I think we can't. No, we can't even go to map 5. No, the chat is absolutely right. So yeah, Affi, everything is against him. So I don't know. We're gonna see how the BDS driver does, but yeah, I don't have any faith in this, to be fair.
Yeah, Affi now in a very tough spot, really has to show that he's capable on more than just one map. He's not a one-trick pony, but that he can perform here any circumstance. And he was close on some maps to win. I'm particularly looking out for Starglide maybe as an opportunity, one of his maybe top 3 maps. But it is going to get tougher, and the competition is tougher as well. Now just 6 players left, and I think we have most of them deservedly being here at that. So a very, very close, prestigious match here between these players, and I can't wait to see just how good Trackmania driving we're gonna get to see in just 10 seconds here.
Indeed, we're getting started with the first map of the final 6, the second stage of the final of the Grand League. Raise your hands, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go racing! As we're heading back to the helicam, a bit of aerial cam action for the start of map number 1, as we're going to get over the grass hill in the best part of 2 to 3 seconds right now, with currently no big leader set, no big mistakes happening so far. It is possible to have big mistakes happen in the earliest part of these races. Affi getting the whole shot with an 11.951.
Yeah, taking the lead right here in the early stages, but we have seen that across 2 laps here, it can get very difficult to keep up with the pace of players like Papou. And let's not forget Gwen, who decided that this map out of the 5 maps was the one that he wanted to play first off in this match. And right now he is in last place, but if you look at the differences, that is not a big distance up to the top place, just 0.10 of a second between all these 6 players. And that just goes to show the level they're driving right now. Everyone going at near perfect pace right here as they jump across the dirt. This is going to be the size of the first round over the dirt.
Aurel.
A slow down, barely clipping the second half of that dirt edge, and will drop down to last place now. That could be enough to put him out of contention for the first point here. CarlJr and Affi, though, neck and neck as they go towards the identity.
Yeah, unfortunately for Aurel, getting a bit too close to the edge at the ending of the dirt part there. Meanwhile, Papou, with much more speed than both Affi and CarlJr, who move through to the lead. What a stunning opening lap for Papou. Stunning identity, 125.891 from the Gamers Origin driver. CarlJr up into P2, Affi down to 3rd place after having led the opening times convincingly, but he will get P2 at the expense of CarlJr, anything into the butt road section potentially. Nope, not quite. The battle's still on between the Canadian and the Swiss driver.
And that is why Papou has the world record on this map in 6 laps format. He is one of the best drivers there, especially on that identity. Just cruised past everyone with monstrous speed. If he can do that again here, the other players are going to have to build up a lead against him, because when it gets to that identity, Papou will just soon pass them. So this is it now. Have to build up a lead against Papou if you want to beat him out in the identity. Affi, though, as we said, no circles on the table, and right now he is challenging for a first point on half pipe of all maps here. Affi really stepping up when it matters the most for him.
Yeah, definitely something when this matters the most. A bit of a wide exit from the dirt still enables him to keep some momentum going. Oh no! As we say that, the caster's curse hits so hard! And Affi will be down in P5. Pack is completely out of the running as well. And currently Papou will inherit the lead with 0.3 of a second of a gap between himself and CarlJr. P2. Papou failing at the identity as well! What's happening? CarlJr landing a bit too low, but he will still get the map win regardless. What on earth? Aurel in P2 and Affi P3, but CarlJr will get that point and move through to finalist status.
CarlJr just being handed a point on a silver platter there as everyone ahead of him failed left and right. That was very fortunate for him, but you got a feel for Affi. They're so close, just one no drift away on the dirt, and Papou, who was said to be one of the best players on that identity, failing it when it matters so much here in the top 6 match. So now CarlJr there with the red tag. If he wins one more round, he will advance into the top 4 and into the prize money in the tournament, while Papou here has to work it up all again from scratch if he wants to get a point.
Oh my god, the adrenaline rush and the absolute scenes that we've seen on the final part of lap 2 on this opening round are arguably some of the most intense things. The dual caster, the double caster's curse that hits so hard from both Affi and Papou, netting CarlJr the win. Meanwhile, Pack and Gwen in first and second, heading into the dirt. A bit of a clip on the inside for Pack. Will he be able to get enough speed to clear it? It seems likely. So yeah, it is going to be all 6 players managing to go through the dirt without any hitch so far, and so far we see a bit of a rift between the top 3 group and the bottom 3 group at the present moment, with Gwen touching the wall on the inside. Yeah, oh my god.
Affi, as it were, hitting that booster just barely and dropping down to 1 second behind on his own map pick here. Did not get it to work on the first round, will maybe not get it to work on the second one here, but all the other players are getting across this identity beautifully. Such a low jump from CarlJr, but look at that speed, that will net him. Will now contest for first across the grass here. Important to land early, getting the speed, and Pack will do that the best of everyone. Now in the lead, he cruised through the first round in just 2 wins straight back to back, now going for his first one in the top 6 match.
Yeah, and as you were spectating CarlJr, I was actually watching Papou going over the identity, and he clipped at the edge of the final jump, and he managed to keep it going, and so you can see he's still battling for the lead. Well, he's back at the moment, but he dropped momentarily to P4 after crossing the start-finish line. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the pack, Aurel and CarlJr battling for 4th position with Gwen a little bit further behind. Still within a second of the leader right now. So in case a mistake happens from either player right there at the top, it could look really good as we're going through the jumps right here. Will anyone have not enough speed? And yes, Aurel will not clear it, and so I think he retired. And yes, it's a DNF for Aurel at the worst possible moment as we're heading into the identity with Papou, CarlJr, and Affi grouped together with a bit of a sluggish exit from the bottom, from the top 3-4. Netting a bit of a breakaway for Papou as we're heading to the identity though. Let's actually see if anyone has got more speed. Affi going for the risk line. It's not paying off. He gets overtaken by Pac. Will he be able to clear the rest of the identity though? Yes, but super slow, and CarlJr as well. And Papou will win the race and get himself a point on the board. Pac in P2, Affi and CarlJr in 3rd and 4th. Gwen and Aurel have retired.
Papou getting the win there, but you could see the total all or nothing. A risk from everyone coming out on that identity. Going with way too much speed on the first jump, risking it all to get just 1 point. Papou there, safe and sound, will net himself into finalist mode together with CarlJr. 2 out of the 6 players now with a finalist mode, and this one could be over before it's even begun for some of the other players. Very, very fast match here if they don't step up right now.
Yeah, it's time for them to... I hope this is going to act as a wake-up call for some of these players to actually start performing right now, because the pressure is really on already. Remember, we're down from 6 spots available to 4 spots available for the next phase. So every round is going to be absolutely key for each and every one of these players right now. Pac leading the race in front of Papou, Gwen and CarlJr in the top 4. Then Aurel and Affi battling for 5th place. Affi overtaking the GamingPV.com driver just before the dirt part, as we're going to be heading towards the double dip section of this particular track right now, following Gwen, getting around 221. That's a bit of a weaker side of the 220s that we've seen in terms of speed. Actually, we saw someone a bit clipping, maybe? Not quite. Oh, yes, CarlJr clips.
Down on the dirt, and that is not good for him. If he wanted to close it out here on the first map, I think that opportunity has passed here. 1 second is so much on half-pipe, especially with Papou leading the field. That is going to be hard for him to catch up, but Affi now has actually overtaken him into the identity, clipping the first one, clipping the second one, and that will be the point of no return. Papou overtaking the lead, and Gwen has made a big mistake. Wait, what is going on? Oh no, Papou in the lead, Aurel chasing, and CarlJr is suddenly in 3rd again. It was a massacre on the identity.
Double DNF, triple DNF even! Affi, Gwen, and Pac, all 3 have retired! So Papou has a half a second gap now between himself and Aurel, and CarlJr down in 3rd position right now. Papou currently having the race in his hands, keeping everything under control. I wonder if there was a technical issue from all these players, or maybe they did know that maybe there was absolutely nothing that they could do to catch back up to the gap that was created with that identity failing. But yeah, Gwen having a full stop at the very first jump, as a matter of fact, and retiring almost instantly. So yeah, maybe some of the key contenders are completely out of there, and the man who was having a bit of a rough time in this series might not be looking good at all on paper. It isn't Gucci at all for Affi as he retired. Meanwhile, Papou and Aurel 1st and 2nd, less than 0.2 of a second at the next checkpoint, and Aurel with more speed than Papou at the exit of the dirt. Talk about that for an upset. Heading into the identity, Papou going so wide. Oh my god.
Can he overtake here in the identity? He's gonna go for it. Gets the first jump beautifully. Oh, this is what Papou does best. The half-pipe jumps.
Oh my god.
That lead. Look how far ahead he is, and Papou will secure it there with a beautiful set of jumps in the identity. He is going on to the next round.
Can I get a hell yeah for Papou with that speed differential heading into the identity? He will be your first man heading into the final 4 coming up next. But right now we're heading into map number 2 of the series, which is going to be Semiramis, which was actually Papou's pick. And so that's a bit of a weird predicament, right? Having your map that you pick coming up next, but you don't get to play it.
Yeah, it's sort of a suffering from success, if you will, there for Papou. After playing so well on the first map, he doesn't get to play his own pick, but the other players will have to. And on this map last time, we saw notably Gwen here winning, I think, 2 rounds to set himself into the top 6. So Gwen, certainly a player to look out for here as we are watching the warm-up.
We're watching the warm-up currently, and yeah, Semiramis, where we saw quite a few upsets, quite a few shenanigans happening, especially on some of the players that unfortunately were taken out on the final 8th phase, with Kappa also having been in contention for the lead with Gwen at one point, only to falter at the final part of the identity at the very last jump. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how these players now fare heading into the final 6. Right now, we get a bit of a recap of the leaderboard in terms of timings. Semiramis was actually Papou's map pick for a reason. 2:18.071 was the world record from Papou. CarlJr is the next one in the timing sheets with a 2:18.177. But Gwen is not looking too shabby on this map as well. He actually won on that map to go through to the final 6. So yeah, it will be a battle between CarlJr and Gwen, with Pac maybe having a part to play in this battle as well.
Yeah, indeed. Pac will actually win that warm-up first lap, at least, ahead of Aurel. So we didn't get to see what he's capable of here after he swept through the first round. But Pac, one of the fastest players on the timing, so really could be him that we see taking a point or two here on Semiramis. We are going live with the first round. Geek, take it away.
All right, a bit of a helicam action again. This has become one of my favorite shots to do in this brand new release of the game, being able to get a bit of an overhead view of the action and see the cars really close to each other at the start of the race. Whole shot for CarlJr with a 7 dead, 7-0-0-0, and currently everybody remaining really nicely grouped. No big mistakes so far from the players over the first couple of checkpoints right now.
Yeah, and we see that Pac actually dropping a little bit down the field, only half a second behind, but that is not a good start to Semiramis for him. The first time he placed this in the playoffs, the others have had a go at it, and they're going so even right now. 10 hundredths of a second between all four players, as it were. Affi very close to the wall, but in the lead. We see a battle that we've seen all year long, it seems. CarlJr versus Gwen. This is a classic in Trackmania. The reigning champion versus the prodigy. Who is going to come out on top?
Well, I said it many times on Twitch Rivals that it's actually become a bit of a meme. It's the El Clasico of 2020. Gwen versus CarlJr. The 3-time world champion versus the youngster from Team Game 1. And currently, Carl has the upper edge against Gwen, heading into the final lap in the lead with a 110.854 in the first lap. As the reference, Gwen in P2, just 2 tenths down on the world champion though, with Affi in P3 a little bit behind on pace, looking to be 8 tenths down on the leader. And Aurel, mistake that I didn't catch off camera, he finds himself down in last place, 5.7 seconds down the leader. Meanwhile, Pac a little bit too far to make anything happen, but still keeping tabs on what's happening up front.
I think this is gonna come down to the El Clasico. Gwen versus CarlJr.
Oh, Gwen!
That is a short lasting battle after Gwen makes a mistake. As I say it, the caster's curse is a real phenomenon, and it has happened to Gwen. CarlJr now 1 second ahead almost of Affi, and he has been gifted a round before, could get gifted another one here, as no one else is keeping pace with him. 1 second to go, 3 jumps to go. CarlJr could be the second finalist, the second top 4 player if he gets these 2 jumps here. First one is good, the second one will be in. And with this grass part now, CarlJr can safely put himself in the top 4 battle.
Top 4 battle for CarlJr coming up. He moves through as the second man qualified into the final 4 section. And now we're heading into a bit of a predicament. None of the players that are remaining in this final 6 race have not scored any map wins, so maybe this will be the chance for some people like Affi, who managed to hold up the challenge of Pac, albeit a mistake from Gwen on lap 2. Maybe Affi could have a bit of a card to play here, even though on pace he might not be the hardest man on paper.
Yeah, it's definitely like a bracket reset almost happening here, where everyone's at 0, everyone has 2 lives, 2 chances to make it happen. But those will run you by quick if you do not take advantage of them immediately. Straight off the bat here, we see Pac and Affi going very fast on the first lap of Semiramis.
No!
Affi, big mistake, will make him fall down there. Pac now in the lead by 0.3 of a second ahead of Gwen, going very close to the wall, almost failing it right then and there, but will stay alive until the identity at least. Gwen, though, closing that gap ever so slightly, few hundreds here and there. Going closer and closer to Pac. Different lines coming out here now. Gwen going for the more inside approach. Pac choosing to go for more speed on the jumps. and will get more speed on this exit. So Pack here, a very big lead coming into the second lap.
Yeah, Pack's line at the final jump with a really wide line coming into the booster to get a bit more momentum going on is actually paying off dividends for the Brits, opening up the gap of 0.3 of a second to Gwen in P2, and Aurel and Affi. After Affi making a mistake on lap 1, Aurel made a mistake at the final part of map 1, it seems like. So both are out of the running. So it's really a battle between Pack and Gwen at the present moment.
Ooh, and this is a big battle as well. Pack, who won just 2 rounds straight up. Gwen had to work for them, and he had to work for them on this very map earlier, beating out players like Kappa. Now, Pack could be next up on the chopping block for Gwen. 0.2 of a second. He has closed that gap very, very beautifully here, eating away at Pack's lead, and it is going to be a head-to-head 1v1 dead even matchup into the identity here. Pack versus Gwen. Who is going to take it? Pack here. Starting things out, we saw he had the superior line on the first identity. Is Gwen going to adapt here and get a better one? Very low air time, more speed here perhaps over the grass. This could be Gwen's win with the speed advantage over to the finish. It's going to be so close between the Englishman and the Frenchman, but Pack taking the win by 300 of a second. And I believe that is the closest battle we've had all day. Pack, though, getting the longer end of the stick.
Pack managing to hold off the late charge of Gwen to actually move himself into finalist status as well. Moving on to the final round of semi-ramis at the present moment, and Pack could be the next one to move through into the final 4, and there could be just 1 spot left for 3 players, and 3-1 won't go.
Right, it's getting into the final hour of the top 6 match here. Just 4 players will advance and 2 players will not, and out of these 4, if you want to make it on through, then you gotta show it here and now in this round or the next ones, as Pack here is just 1 round away from getting there himself. Going through these turns, we've seen players fail. We see Gwen now
Aurel as well.
The victim of that. Aurel actually being the victim of that left and right. But where is Gwen? Gwen has failed as well. DNF. It's a 1v1. Affi versus Pack. There are 2 players out of fight already in lap number 1, and this is going to be an extended battle now. Does Affi and Pack realize it's only them 2 left on the track? Is Pack now surely sensing that this could be the moment?
This could be the moment indeed, and now Affi potentially driving like an absolute madman, driving out of his mind to try and catch back up to the 2016 world champion. But so far, no answer from the Swiss driver to the pace of Pack at the present moment, who holds the race convincingly, although the gap has shrunk at the start-finish line to a 10.5 between the 2, but it's still pretty much everything to play. It's still looking like the Brit has got this convincing lead and convincing way to lead the race compared to Affi. Affi, who's now under pressure to perform right now if he is to continue the journey in the playoffs.
Yeah, and there is no circles coming up later on. There is no saving grace that he can wait for. This round, with 2 players already being eliminated, with only 1 car that is just 2/10 of a second ahead, being the only thing between him and a point, he needs to take advantage. He needs to fight for this point right now, because if he lets Pack on through, then Gwen and Aurel could quickly follow on the next map. So now Affi really has to get a perfect identity section to beat out Pack by 0.2 of a second. He really pushes now, but the lead only extends for Pack.
And Affi.
No. And that is going to be it for Affi. Pack now, the victory march. He will move on to the top 4 with 1 more jump here. And there's just 1 spot left to fight for.
Hearts will be broken on the next few rounds. It's going to be tough. Affi, Gwen, and Aurel. 1 Grand League veteran versus 2 rookies. But only 1 can make it. So there's going to be either a veteran being left out, or both rookies being left out, or 1 rookie and 1 veteran being left out. Who knows? As we're moving on to the next map in the order, which is going to be Paradise, which was Pack's choice.
All right, Paradise, and again we see the suffering from success here, as Pack made it on through just before his map pick. Now the other players have to battle on it though, and we also saw Papou being one of the best players here. He is again qualified, so this is going to be, I think, a fairly even race. We have not seen any of the 3 players remaining be exceptionally good at this map. They are of course all extremely talented and really good on all the maps, but sometimes a player is just a level above everyone else on a certain map. And this time, I think we see 3 even players as we go into Paradise.
Yeah, 3 pretty even looking players going on into this race on Paradise, which could very well be, which will not be the final map of this particular match, but could very well be the final map for one of these 3 players. Currently, I would say still the favorite would be Gwen in this instance to go through the final spot of the Grand League, and I would predict that Aurel and Affi will be the ones left to basically get an early 8 hours of sleep, if I can say so. But of course, anything can happen at this point. You saw what happened in the previous map on Semiramis, and yeah, these are of course my predictions, but take that for what you will. Predictions are never really good in Trackmania anyways.
Yeah, and it's very hard to predict on such a map, in such a format, just who will make it through. But one thing we've seen all regular season was that Affi and Gwen on this map were sort of the innovators. They were the first players to do that high line that we now see all the players do. And they also were experimenting with another turn that they did differently to all the players. A bit has changed since then. The optimal line has sort of been discovered, and that's the one that all the players take now. But these 2 players certainly willing to try everything new on this map, and I think they might have an advantage over Aurel. They know it more in depth after discovering all these strategies. But the first thing we have to take a look at is the shortcut jump that's coming up right after the grass here. The players will do a sharp turn to the left and jump through this window, and it's so important that you land on the platform. It's a 1v1, Affi versus Gwen, as Aurel does not get that jump. Now over the bank dirt corner and into the tech section we go, and it is the 2 youngsters, the 2 rookies in a 1 versus 1 battle.
1 versus 1 battle. 5 years of a difference between Affi and Gwen. Gwen 16 years old, Affi 21 years old. It will be a case of supremacy, maybe a bit of an early, maybe an early victory for Gwen, heading into the lead, but coming up to the free will section just after this drift corner. Let's actually see if there is any touch of the wall on the inside. Nope, it still looks good. Still around 200 kilometers an hour at the exit of Gwen, for Gwen right now, who pulls the gap to, I'd say, around half a second coming into the identity. Yeah, 54 tenths of a second coming into the hundredths of a second are coming into the identity right now. Gwen going for the safer higher strat, and not for the 270-degree spin that was the intended way through the identity, and he will lead the final lap from Affi with a 127.358 as the opening lap for Gwen.
Very, very interesting dynamics in this battle, where Gwen there was able to gain almost half a second in that technical part, but Affi gaining back 0.2 in the identity. So really, this difference is nothing right now. It is just about as even as it can get with the parts coming up later up. Both players will make that shortcut jump, and now it will actually come down to the technical part. We should favor Gwen here. Affi, though, on that ice part, drove beautifully. So right now, if Gwen cannot extend this lead more, then we should have Affi favored for the end. But let's not take anything for granted as they jump into the dirt. They want to reduce the air time over this uphill, go very diagonally, and build up speed for this loop. And we can see that Affi here is trying to close that gap. It's down to 2,800 per second into the technical part now. The speed on this exit is going to be so important. Whoever gets the most speed across the straight will probably win the round, and we see Gwen again extending the lead now, half a second into the final identity.
And yeah, Flink putting his head in his hands, seeing what was made of his flip tactic, that of his identity that he submitted. But yeah, indeed, the Merlin is indeed faster, as Masa pointed out. I was completely my bad on that, but Gwen managing to make the most of the circumstances and move into final status. A point on the board for Gwen with a 250.814 at the line, and Aurel, unfortunately for him, with an early mistake on the first lap. It will not be good at all. Finalist mode for Gwen, and he will be needing to win this round to potentially send Affi and Aurel to bed early.
Yeah, and I do have to point out something funny here. Gwen there with the best lap, a nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that round to close it out. Beautiful stuff from Gwen, and he has 1 out of the 2 points he needs right now to secure a spot and eliminate Aurel and Affi. Aurel's first round ended on this jump last time. Now he's got it under control. Will make it through. and will also get that drop down to the road. So this is now a 3-way battle and not a 1v1, and it's anyone's game right now.
And pretty much anyone's game, and currently Affi leading Gwen by less than 1/10 of a second, and Aurel still remaining in the fight after having learned that lesson on lap 1 of round 1 on Paradise. Heading into the dirt now, a bit of a counter steering action for Affi to keep it off the wall and keep as much speed as he can going around the outside with the turnover coming up right now. And Gwen coming back at the Swiss driver from BDS, although he does not manage to make the mistake. Maybe into the technical section. Let's actually see the speed at the checkpoint. 206 for Gwen and less than 200 for Affi. Maybe he must have touched the wall somewhere. So Gwen will pull a gap again of around half a second to Affi, even more. 0.6 to Affi, heading into that entity now. Going high and diving low, ducking low at the last possible moment. Really close for Affi against the CP right here. Affi going a little bit lower, maybe to safeguard the start-finish line crossing. 27.105 for Gwen at the start of lap 2, leading what could potentially be his final lap on the final 6, and very much a playoff-worthy, playoff continuation-worthy placing right here.
Yeah, this is a Gwen show all the way right now. That one part with the turn and the freewheeling, he builds up so much speed every time. It's almost half a second a difference to the other players every lap there. And if he's the only one that can do that, and he has that 0.7 lead already, it is looking like Gwen can do it. But this is where age comes into play. Gwen here, only 16 years old. Does he have the ability to deal with the pressure in this situation, to close out the round when it matters the most, to secure himself in the top 4? This is the moment he's been waiting for, but now just a couple of turns and one identity left. Can he control the nerves and the pressure? Going through the freewheeling turn, what is the speed going to be at the exit? 200 this time, but that is all fine and well as he has the lead now. Affi getting, I think, slightly more speed, but the difference still remains. If Gwen gets these 2 final ice turns, then the top 6 match will be over and he will move on with the big boys to the top 4, to the finals, or the semifinals of the Trackmania Grand League. Let's see if he can do it. One more to go, and he will indeed do it there. Gwen is our 4th top 4 player.
And Aurel and Affi are sent home early. Now, for those of you who have followed the antics of the Zerator Cup, I think we can pretty much say that this is very much a Resident Sleeper Club representation from Gwen, completely sweeping these final 2 rounds. Or if you would like the French version of the name, the Rompish Gameplay Club, which earned a special T-shirt of the ZZZ, the 3 letters to denote sleeping, for sold by Game One on this special occasion. But yeah, Gwen managing to get himself into the final 4 alongside Papou and CarlJr. We're getting closer and closer to get a Grand League champion.